I just want to ask first off, in light of the recent primetime programme and the revelations there, have any of you, are any of you aware, or have any of you been asked by the Department of Health to provide information on individual children and families? I just want to ask my questions one at a time.
Thank you. Yeah. This is Martina again. Just in relation to that issue, I suppose in the first instance, the department became aware of this as a result of the primetime programme, which was on the 25th of March. At that time, we issued a press statement, and I just want to reiterate to the committee that the department and the management of the litigation throughout over what is in excess of a 20-year period by the department has at its focus ensuring that children with special educational needs had access to the appropriate provision. So the best defence of litigation proceedings was ensuring that the children had access to appropriate educational placements and appropriate education provision to meet their needs. So that has been the entire focus of the work in the department.
So have you supplied information to the Department of Health? Sorry, Mr.
Sorry, so I suppose going back to that, as a result of the programme, we have instituted a review of the procedures in relation to how those cases were managed over a long period. That review is ongoing, and we'll be able to provide further information once that review is complete. But I think it was just important when we are at the committee just to reiterate the point that the supporting of children and their provision is the primary focus of the department's engagement on litigation.
I know, but sorry, who's conducting the review? Are you conducting your own review within your own operations in terms of information that was
Sorry, as I say, this matter was brought to our attention as a result of the primetime programme, and we have instituted our review of processes and procedures, which is ongoing at the moment.
Okay, that doesn't really answer my question, but who's in charge of that review then in terms of yourselves?
Yeah, I think to be fair, in something that was only brought to our attention less than 3 weeks ago, and it relates to litigation going back over 25 years, I think it is appropriate that we would review our files and then advise as to the content of those files, rather than, I suppose, comment in this particular form at the moment. It is something that we just want to reiterate that our entire focus in dealing with this has been to ensure that the children have had appropriate provision. And I think that's important that the committee will be aware of that today.
Yeah, so I take from that you were absolutely unaware of the practices before the primetime programme. Is that true to say that?
You're travelling a little bit outside of the remit of what the witness are in before us today, Rose. So maybe just I don't want to take up anybody
okay.
but you are a little bit.
But I just think it's very important, and I think we need to.
I understand, but in fairness, when the committee invited the witnesses in, we were very specific on the items that they were to cover. Now I don't want to be. But I just want to be fair to the witnesses as well, okay?
Yeah, no, I just think it's important for children. Thank you, Ciarán. Okay, just how many children at the moment are suspended from, say, even if we just take primary school, because of behavioural issues? Are you aware of that?
Apologies, Deputy. We will have to come back to you on that. The department wouldn't hold information in relation to suspensions of individual children. Are you talking about children with special educational needs?
Well, I'll just give you an example of a 7-year-old child, right, who has been suspended several times in the last number of months. This is a 7-year-old child who hasn't got any assessment from NEPS. And who just continuously is suspended. Do you think that that's right? And I suppose why I'm asking that is in light of the fact that you're telling us that €2 billion has been provided for additional supports for children. It just doesn't say, I can't just reconcile then how children as young as 7 are suspended from school because of behavioural issues. One would imagine that all of the supports and services are there to be able to address those needs.
Thank you, Deputy. I might ask my colleague Anne Tansey, who will actually be able to articulate how the management of those issues are dealt with. Obviously not commenting on individual cases, but I think Anne will be able to helpfully assist as to how this is managed in schools.
And
Okay, thank you, Martina, and thank you, Deputy. So, you know, the NEPS provides a service to all primary and post-primary schools in the country, and through the assignment of a psychologist. And the service that we provide is a sort of a dual service. We support schools to build their capacity to support the children within that school setting and to provide a continuum of support. So the support that we provide for schools consists of two types of service: a casework service and a support and development service.
okay,
The casework service is casework. Yes.
Do you mind if I just ask you, because we've very limited time, have all schools have access to NEPS as we speak, have they? All schools? And is there an onus on school principals to refer to NEPS if that's what the parent requests? Sorry, do all schools have access to NEPS?
I'm not sure that I heard your question completely. It broke up a little bit. So from what I hear is that you're asking, do all schools have access to the NEPS service? And if there's an onus on the principal to refer a child to the NEPS service. So all of our primary and post-primary schools in the country have access to the NEPS service. What happens with regard to the support, the individual supports, and NEPS supports teachers and school personnel through the provision of a consultation and advisory service to support children within their schools. If a continuum of support has been put in place and there is a student support plan in place and the child still is presenting with needs, oftentimes the school principal will prioritise that child for an individual casework service from the NEPS service. So it is possible for that school and that school principal to receive the support of NEPS in that instance.
Okay. Do you know how many parents are accessing private because they cannot get the service from NEPS or any other state psychological assessments? How many parents are paying? Well, I suppose what I would say to you is I know a number of parents who are paying very large amounts of money for private assessments, private psychological assessments, because they're left with no choice. And my concern is that then only those who have the ability to pay will have their children assessed and be able to have a diagnosis. And I take what you said earlier, that you don't have to wait for the diagnosis in order for the services to be provided, but that's not the experience. So could you tell me, do you know how many?
So I suppose I don't have those figures, Deputy, on how many parents are accessing private psychological services. But what I would say is what we said earlier on, is that accessing the NEPS service for a diagnosis is not a prerequisite to a child receiving support within the school setting or of the school availing of the support services provided by the Department of Education. So as a colleague earlier mentioned, we now have a system in place whereby supports for schools and to support children within schools are front-loaded or pre-allocated based on the school's profile, and the allocation of that support is not dependent on an NEPS diagnosis, but the NEPS service is available to schools to support schools in providing that continuum of support.
Okay, thank you very much.